A landlord in Illinois spent more than a year trying to evict squatters from a property that they just bought. Fortunately, Illinois just changed the law and made it easier to remove these criminals. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have quite the interesting topic for you today, and it's coming out of the state of Illinois. So I don't talk about Illinois too much, okay, but it is a more anti-landlord state than the rest of the Midwest, okay? So when I'm talking about places where I personally wouldn't invest, Illinois is one of them. And part of the reason is because they don't treat landlords with respect, okay? They treat us kind of like garbage, depending on where exactly you're investing. If you're investing in the city of Chicago specifically, or some of the close-in suburbs, they're more anti-landlord. Now, I don't know so much about, the southern part of the state, the part of the state that's closer to St. Louis, but I do know that Chicago and in that area, not exactly the greatest place to be a landlord. So the story that I'm covering today is coming out of Cook County, the county where Chicago is located, and it shouldn't surprise you that a landlord had somebody basically break into their property, claim to be a tenant, and then they had a great deal of trouble removing that person. It took them over a year. And man, that's ridiculous in and of itself. The fact that somebody can claim to be a tenant of you and you have no recourse, no way to remove that person immediately, well, that's a problem. And they have passed a law recently. Now, I don't know how this law, the new rules exactly work, but we'll have to wait and see on that. But before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like, subscribe button, maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. So would you invest in the state of Illinois? Do you think it's a landlord-friendly place? Do you think that Illinois is the kind of state where, I am going to put my money? Now, me personally, I wouldn't. But it's not just the fact that they are more anti-landlord. Now that they have issues with high taxes there as well, and incompetent state government. There's a lot of other little issues that add up to, I think I'll put my money elsewhere. But would you invest in the state of Illinois? Second of all, do you think that these sort of laws should be passed nationwide that allow us to be able to remove squatters, maybe with a sworn affidavit saying that this person isn't a tenant? Okay, that's my personal belief. I believe that every state in the country should have a law put into place saying that if the property owner makes a sworn affidavit saying this person isn't a tenant and is a trespasser, then we should be able to remove them as a trespasser. The police should be able to go in there, get that person out of there immediately. No civil eviction process, no long-term loss of rents necessary. Okay, charge them with property damage, breaking and entering, trespassing, robbery, whatever. Just get them the heck out of there, throw them in jail. That's my personal opinion. I think that, we might have a couple of illegitimate, bad landlords who are acting in bad faith, but the overwhelming majority are going to be good landlords, good property owners who are just trying to get their properties back. And so it will benefit the overwhelming majority of people in cases. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to tell you about what they're doing in the state of Illinois and what happened with this landlord. This story is coming from WGNTV.com, and it says, an inside look at one eviction as cases climb in Cook County. Yeah, let's get into it. The number of new eviction cases in Cook County has returned to pre-pandemic levels, with nearly 30,000 filings a year. The increase is straining the ability of law enforcement and the courts to handle some cases in a timely and efficient manner, according to observers. WGN Investigates took an in-depth look at a recent case involving a property on the northwest side. It took a year to complete, underscoring the complexity and challenges that many evictions present. So a lot of it is because they have so many cases going on, the system itself is getting backed up. It's not even the fact that, hey, the courts aren't moving fast enough or the laws in place aren't good enough, right? It's that, hey, we don't have enough bailiffs or, court personnel or whatever to actually get the ball rolling. And so these people are allowed to stay for free for even longer, costing the landlords even more money. And, it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. This is purely theft. That's it. Okay, these people are stealing our properties from us. It's, you know, theft of services when you're talking about a power company would be stealing the electricity. Well, you're stealing my housing. You know, the service is the housing, and I'm the housing provider, and you're stealing it from me. And so I wish they could charge people who are doing this sort of thing with the crime for theft. Okay, theft, fraud, breaking and entering, robbery, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Friends of mine, attorneys I've dealt with for the past 22 years, nobody has ever seen anything like this before, said Liliana Lohan, a veteran Chicago real estate agent. Lohan represented a man who bought a 2-flat in Chicago's Portage Park neighborhood in July of 2024. WGN Investigates is not naming him because he claims to have received multiple threats related to the eviction. At the time, records show the property was bank-owned. He said it was also vacant. But days after he closed on the purchase, he claims a man moved in, installed cameras, and changed the locks. The owner called Chicago police but was told there was nothing they could do. So he filed for eviction in the Cook County Circuit Court. So yeah, pretty easy to prove that, hey, this place was empty before I bought it. And then after I purchased the place, suddenly, without a lease, without anything, oh, wow, there's somebody living there. Oh, yeah, you know, this is my place. I own it. I'm renting it, you know, yeah, whatever, okay? Where is the, you know, like, the common sense? I wish that the police could use common sense in this sort of case to say, hey, yeah, this is definitely a scam, and we're going to remove these people. That's all I'm asking, really. And even to cover the liability from the police officer would be the sworn affidavit from the property owner saying that, hey, this person is not a tenant. And that would eliminate all the issues of liability for the police if they do remove that person. So, you know, laws need to change. And that's pretty simple. Records show he's not alone. There was a total of 27,896 new filings last year, up 133% compared to 2021. There's a lot of eviction cases pending, said attorney Aaron Stanton, a partner at Chicago-based law firm Burke, Warren, McKay, and Saratella. WGN Investigates also interviewed the man who was evicted. We are not naming him either because he's not charged with the crime. He claimed his removal from the property was illegal and denied he was squatting. His family owned the Portage Park property for 20 years. However, records indicate that the lost ownership after a foreclosure suit was filed. So basically, and this is the long story short, this guy used to own the property. It was foreclosed on by the bank, sold off to somebody else, and then he just moved back in there, and now he claims that, oh, well, my eviction, it wasn't lawful. Garbage. Absolute garbage. Why were you foreclosed on and evicted, and all the paperwork, everything shows you were lawfully removed, yet the police refused to get you out of there? You know, it's garbage, okay? And unfortunately, it took more than a year for this property owner to get their property back. A 2-flat would be a duplex. I believe 2-flat is like fancy Chicago terminology for a duplex, right? But anyway, sucky story. I've covered stories like this before. You know, it always hurts to hear that a property owner is losing tens of thousands of dollars to a bunch of scammers. And yeah, I feel bad that this sort of thing happens, but it shines a light on the issue, and hopefully it causes lawmakers, it causes the population to decide, hey, we need to make a change. We need to make a change to the rules and laws in place that are allowing these scam artists to take advantage of the situation. But what do you think? Go ahead and put a comment in the comment section down below.